Hello, and welcome to installing Civilization 2 Tests of Time to your Linux Mint 20 operating system. I'm pretty sure that this will work for other Linux operating systems, at least the Ubuntu ones. And if you have a Windows PC, you can probably use virtualization and run Linux Mint virtually and play Civilization 2 Tests of Time in a virtual machine. I have done that on a Windows PC, although I'm doing this on a native Linux install here. And so you might want to do that because you'll find it easier to install Test of Time in Linux than in Windows. It's not necessarily clear that that's the case, but I think at least the instructions here are more straightforward. You don't have to go and download special codecs or anything like that, at least not explicitly. There might be stuff in Lutrus that does it automatically, but you don't have to worry about that. So I will leave a couple of links to virtualization in the description. In fact, I will also either leave these instructions directly in the description or a link to them, probably in a forum post on Civfanatics. But anyway, let's get started. So if your Test of Time CD is old and scratched, and you want an ISO, you can go to that archives.org link and download the ISO image. I have already done that because that's a big download. I'm not going to do it here. And so the next thing is we either mount your ISO image using disk image mounter, or you would actually put your CD in the CD drive and access it that way. So actually we don't have to mount it just yet, because the next thing to do is to install Lutrus. So Lutrus is a sort of game manager for Linux. So we can go to the Lutrus website, and it gives us a couple of commands to put into the console. You basically just have to cut and paste. So you just copy that over, and your password. Then you press enter to continue. And that's done. So the next thing to do is you run this code command. And then finally, we go and run the install Lutrus command. And there we have Lutrus. I think ordinarily it would take some time to download, but I actually uninstalled it from my system before this. Before starting this video. So now you go and open Lutrus. And so what we do is we go to Wine, and we go to this runners icon here, Manage Versions. And then we're going to find version TKG Protonified 4.1 -x86. This one here. And we're going to use this one because I happen to know it works. There's no particular reason to use this one as far as I know. It was just current. It was just pretty current when I first did this some time ago. So just use this one. But you can try something newer. It'll probably work. But if it doesn't, go and try this one. So I'll just pause the video for a moment and come back to you when this is downloaded. I figured that I should specifically mention that I cannot explicitly vouch for this image here. My image of my CD of Test of Time seems to have been a later release with an extra scenario or something. But what I can say for certain is that after you go through all of this, the executable file for running Civilization 2 will have the same hash, SHA-256 hash, as the one that my CD has. So if there is some sort of weird Trojan horse thing going on with this, it's in the installer. But I really don't think there is. Like, who would bother doing that? Figure technically I should warn you about that. So in any case, while we're waiting, we can actually go to step 3 here. So in your home directory, create a directory for Lutrus files, which we'll call games. So this will be the desktop with all your documents and stuff. And so we'll just create a new folder, games. And inside this folder, we will create another folder for where we're going to make our installations. So we'll call this one TOTPP15 for Test of Time Patch Project 15. And we're also going to want another one, this is optional, but highly recommended, for Medieval Millennium. So Medieval Millennium is a pretty significant modification of Test of Time that creates a sort of medieval-style European game. Highly recommended. It was created by Nighttime, and I'll show you how to install that as well. And so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to actually have two separate instances or installations of Test of Time. That way they won't interfere with each other at all. And you might want to have another one, as we'll see later, just for, just if you want to have different settings or something. We've also inserted the CD and mounted, or I should say in this case, mounted the ISO image. And something when I was testing this using Linux Mint XFCE version, I found that the desktop hid things like the mounted image. And so I had to go and, change the settings to see it. Just something to be aware of. It's slightly annoying. So now this is installed, so we can go OK. And so now we're going to go and add a new game. So we will name it TOTPP15 or whatever you want. Maybe I'll just call it Test of Time 15. And so we're going to select Wine as the runner. And we don't need to worry about the release here. And so in game options, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the executable, and this is going to change a couple of times. But for the first time, we navigate to our disk, and we select setup.exe. And don't worry about this folder not being writable to by the current user. That's not going to matter. And so we need to choose our working directory. And so that is going to be games and TOTPP15. And our wine prefix is going to be the same thing. A couple of these will change later on. And set 32-bit prefix architecture. Now, now I was going to say some of these settings, like prefix architecture, is just stuff that I know will work, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the only thing that will work. And so, in runner options, we make sure to select DKG Protonified 4.1. And if you're using a virtual machine here, you're going to want to disable this. So that's something I found out. But if you're on hardware, it's probably fine to leave as it is, but I don't think it matters either way, really. And there's nothing to change in system options there. Next, we're going to run this, TOTPP15. So just double click on it to play. And so you're going to want to install Mono here if it prompts you. And Gecko, it looks like you'll also be prompted to install maybe something else. So Mono is installed, now I'll install Gecko. Okay, so Gecko is just about installed now. So we'll just wait a moment, because it's still launching automatically. And so automatically it'll open the installer. Okay, so Then we just go through the installer setup. Accept the license agreement. Yes. And so we're going to change the destination folder. And so we're going to put it right on. We're going to make it test of time right under C. So part of the reason for this is convenience, and partly it's because there's a bug that if the folder path, the file path names start to get really long, then Civilization 2 can crash. And if we're going to be putting scenarios in a scenario folder and then each in their own folder and stuff, want to have the room. It's not usually been an issue, but sometimes it has. I think that's more of an issue though for like modern Windows installs that have had like gigantic file name paths. And yes, so we want to create that. And so I don't really think it matters what you install. I would just install everything. Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, we don't actually have to install the DirectX 6 drivers, because using Test of Time Patch Project, we're going to use DirectX 9 anyway. And that is part of Modern Wine. So we're not going to register. And, don't try to launch Civ 2 Test of Time, because we're not quite done yet. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to download the Test of Time v1.1 patch. And we're going to save it into our new Test of Time folder. So we'll just download it. It says from external site, but it's still Sibfanatics. So we'll move that into here. This will work. Yeah, so don't extract it. That's a mistake, but for some reason Linux thinks the exe are sometimes compressed. I don't know why. So in any case, we go back, and so now we're going to configure TOTPP Test of Time 15 again. Okay, I'm not sure why I can't do that. Oh, here we go. So configure, and we're going to change game options, and we're going to change the executable to exactly the thing we just downloaded. So Civ TOT11, because that's the patch. That's the 1.1 patch. So we'll save the changes. And we run this again. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to download Test of Time Patch Project, and we're going to extract those files into the Test of Time directory. So at the time of making this video, the most modern version is 0.15.1. So we will open it with the Archive Manager when it's downloaded, which it already is. That's a bit surprising. Actually, I guess it's not that big. But you might want to check the first page of this if you actually do this after a while, because they might have changed they might have released a new version. But that's been at least a couple of years. So whatever. Oh, here's the extract. And so we'll extract it right to here. Okay, so now we're going to once again configure this and change the executable to TOT launcher. And we're going to change the working directory to the test of time directory here. And I think I meant to do that in the previous step, but it didn't matter. Okay, so now this will start the test of time patch project launcher. And so we're going to apply the patch. And we'll make a backup of Civ2.exe just in case. Okay, and something we'll also want to do is you might want to enable direct show music. Actually, I think I get to that later, never mind. But so for right now, we'll enable Lua scripting and Lua scenario events. And so before this step, you should actually unmount this image. I make a point of, if you forget it, the game will freeze. I'll just show you what happens, because somehow I managed to forget that line too. So it just kind of freezes, or stops in this case. And so what we'll do is we will just unmount that. So we can save and launch. So you have a couple of options here, which depends on if you want in-game music. So one option is to do nothing and don't get in-game music. The next is to install the custom music patch that I wrote. And so to do that, we will go to the GitHub page for that. And so you go to code and you go download zip. And we're just going to save it. And so what this does is it provides a couple of things. One is that it sort of randomizes your music, because I put in the tracks from older versions of Civilization 2 as well. And so what the game will do is you can have the option of changing playlists, either for the songs you like or just randomizing them. I'll explain more in the README, but the thing you should be aware of is that it overwrites the contents of the music folder in your Test of Time Patch project directory using Lua code. I think it's fine, but you might not. And so the third option is to prepare Test of Time Patch project music patch and just follow the instructions under the patch description for that. So basically you go down to direct show music, and it says make these MP3 files, or MP3 files with these names, and put them into your music folder. And so you can extract the music from your own CD if you have it, that you have. Or you could just take these same tracks out of my custom music patch, but just not install the entire patch. So I'll open the containing folder here, and we'll extract this. And we'll just extract it to the desktop for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the Test of Time directory, and we're going to copy the music patch right into the music folder right into here, and we'll get these files and we'll copy them into this Lua folder right here, replacing everything that's asked to. And so one of the things that custom music does, well, the main thing actually, is it can let you make playlists. And you can read the instructions for that later. Okay, so if you've chosen either to use custom music patch or just use regular music, then you launch Test of Time Patch Project 15 again, and enable direction music. There we go. Sorry about that if that was a bit too loud. Now, if you want the Test of Time Patch Project Launcher to run every game, you can skip this next step. And the reason you might want to do that is, we'll discuss in a couple of minutes. Actually, no, we'll discuss it now. It doesn't, the order here doesn't really matter. So first we'll just go download the Siblu Bug Fix. So basically, the Siblu file has had a couple bugs in it, but some scenarios rely on it. So you just go to this link and download the fix I made for it, and you just extract that right into the Lua folder and replace it. So that's 26. Now, so 27, step 27, is you have to know how to deal with the Movement Multipliers bug. So basically, there's like one regression in Test of Time patch project, and that regression is that the road multipliers don't work as they should. So there are a couple ways to fix it. So one way is that when you're playing a pre-Test of Time patch project scenario, is that you can disable the Movement Multipliers patch. So you would just uncheck it, and then start your game. And if you're playing a modern scenario that uses Test of Time patch project, you would just enable the patch again. So if you want to do that, then you probably want to use the Test of Time patch project launcher all the time. So another option is to go to the rules files for your pre-Test of Time patch project scenarios and add a couple lines. So actually, you know what? I should perhaps show off the bug. Okay, yep, Movement Multipliers is on. Okay, so as you'll see when you move back and forth, the bug is that the road doesn't take off movement points. I'll just save this as that. And so what we can do is we can go to the original and go into the rules and go to the very bottom right after rivers and just add these lines. And if your scenario doesn't have a road multiplier of 3, then you would have to change these to whatever it is. So you just go to the cosmic principles here and change it to whatever this is. So that is one option. So you save the rules. And now the road now it's gone to use 2/3 movement points. So and then 1/3, and then nothing. So you'd have to do this for every scenario. So that's one option. So the second option is as I said, to disable the movement multiplier patch when playing old games. And so you probably don't want to do the next step here that I'm going to describe. And the third is to maintain a separate installation that you'll put in your pre-test of time patch project games for. And you can see how to do that based on what I do for Medieval Millennium. So assuming that you don't want the TOT launcher to open up every single time, we go to Configure, and we change the executable again. And we choose it civ2.exe, and then we should be good. And we can, while we're here, we can just, if we want to disable animations, we can do that there. And so that was step 25, which I may have, in fact, have moved by the time that you see this list. Okay. So this is pretty well done. I suppose the only thing to mention is that you will want to make a scenario folder for Test of Time Patch Project 15. So we'll do that now, just in case you don't want to watch the rest of the video. Scenarios, whatever you want to call it. Then we will, I was going to say we should be able to make a link. Okay, so something I hadn't realized somehow, I don't know why, is that if I want to go and make a link, I go here to context menus, and I check the Make Link button. I'm not sure why this happened before, but now I can go and make a link, which I can then drag to the desktop. Now, the reason you might want to do this is that if you're downloading scenarios regularly, or maybe playing a multiplayer version scenario such as Over the Reich, it's kind of a hassle to navigate through all of those folders to get to the scenario folder, which is the one you want. And it's easier just to have a link from your desktop. Oh, actually, there is one more thing. Or something you might have to do is go to graphic options and make sure that animated units is off, because when it's on, the blinking doesn't show for the unit. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. So that's something that you might need. Okay, so now I strongly recommend that you play Medieval Millennium, but if you know you're not going to want to, then you don't have to really go any further, as far as I can tell. But I think you'll want to, because it's a great scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to TOTPP15, and we are going to copy everything there into Medieval Millennium. And then we're going to go to Lutrus, and we're going to create ourselves a new game, which we'll call Medieval Millennium, which will run wine. And so we will choose ourselves the executable in Medieval Millennium directory, Test of Time, civ2.exe. And the working directory is in Medieval Millennium. The test of time directory. And the wine prefix is in Medieval Millennium. Just Medieval Millennium. And 32-bit. You will want wine TKG personified 4.1. And remember to disable this if you're using a virtual machine. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and download Medieval Millennium. And in the test of time folder, we're going to create a new folder called Medieval Millennium. And then we wait for it to be downloaded. Okay, so we're back. And so we will open the folder and we extract directly into Medieval Millennium, this Medieval Millennium folder here. I'll show the files. We're going to run the installation bat file. So we navigate to Medieval Millennium here. Then we're going to open this in terminal. And we will write in wine cmd, which I'll just copy right from there. Press enter. Just wait here for a moment. And so now there is the prompt here for Z colon all this. And so then we'll just put in mm_install.bat as the command. You press any key. And once we've installed, we just press any key and then exit again. And that closes the terminal. And so now we can go to Lutrus and Medieval Millennium. And we'll just select Raging Hordes. And so here's Medieval Millennium. As I mentioned before, if these don't flash for you and you want them to flash, you would go to graphic options to disable animated units. Then you can also press Control-Shift-T to configure TOTPP, Test of Time Patch Project. So if it flashes a bit too much, you can say 250 milliseconds. Now it flashes more slowly. Also, if you're used to Multiplayer Gold Edition, you can change the map layout here to get you a more traditional map layout. Which I actually need, because that one's weird to me. So you now get the old city layout. And so that's that. And so there you are. We've even seen how to run bat files if your other scenarios need them. I'm not sure what else there is to say, besides good luck when you're trying this for yourself, and happy civing!